civilization is a continuum of history, and the eternal river Ganga has remained its axis. From snow-capped Himalayan peaks to the fans of Bay of Bengal, Mother River Ganga journeys across several terrains and cultures. In its journey of over 2,500 kilometers through 51 districts, 600 million people and myriad organisms derive sustenance from it. Ganga is a river that has nurtured Indian culture for centuries. Namami Gange and INTAC have come together to document the river from its glacier source at Gomukh to its delta at Ganga Sagar, in an effort to comprehend the river's natural, built and intangible heritage from a people's perspective. This process has revealed several hitherto unknown and incredible facts. Come, let us embark on a unique pilgrimage along the Ganga to know why it is so revered and to experience in depth the river eternal.
When we observe the river Ganga on a map of India, the river appears to be emerging out of the brain of a mythical figure, flowing from the Gangotri glacier in the north, draping the entire north of India like a warm, protective, gating and nurturing it. This river merges with the oceans in the Bay of Bengal. It appears that the very epitome of Shakti, female power, is rearing millions of living beings through its several hands and arms. Ganga not only nurtures a very large part of humanity, but also sustains several wild creatures and vegetation on its banks. In its journey through India, the Ganga passes through 94 urban centers, thousands of villages and settlements. The river and its bounty of fresh water and silt also provides habitat for several creatures. Let us embark on a journey to discover how Ganga fosters nature in its journey to the oceans.
जब हम प्राकृतिक विरासत की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमने यहाँ पे जो नदी में टापू हैं, बहुत पुराने वृक्ष हैं, नदी के साथ घास जो लगी हैं तरह तरह की, जो वहाँ पर फ्लोरा फोना है, ये सब हमने डॉक्यूमेंट किया है। तो इससे नदी की एक नई तस्वीर निकल रही है कि ये केवल एक बहती धारा ही नहीं, इसके साथ पे किनारों पे बहुत सी चीज़ें जो इससे मजबूती पाती हैं और इसको कुछ हद तक इसके कैरेक्टर को और मजबूत करती हैं।
The Ganga emerges from its at Gomukh, a spot its flock to, facing several difficulties. After offering obeisance at the temple at Gangotri, they begin their journey to the source. The Gomukh region is a biodiversity hotspot. Here, we also come across the coexistence of nature and culture, since the snow-capped peaks from where the glaciers emerge are commonly referred to as Bhagirathi 1 and 3. A little further is the dominating peak of the region, Shivaling, and revered by all. Despite the pristine landscape, it is a matter of grave concern that the Gomukh glacier is receding and shrinking. With the break of the monsoon, the river swells up, with the snowy and turbulent river waters flowing down the mountain slopes brush against the large rocks in the region. Frightening sounds and scenes are witnessed. The main source of the river water is melting snow and ice. This vigorous flow can move large boulders and pulverizes rocks into small particles that add colloidal richness to the river waters. Several areas on its banks have been earmarked for conservation. They include biosphere reserves, national parks, and wildlife sanctuaries. Other than this, the constant interplay of water and soil has led to the creation of 23 globally significant wetlands that are known as Ramsar sites. The mountain regions from where the Ganga emerges come under the Gangotri National Park, where the apex predator is the snow leopard. Snow leopards are shy creatures, masters of camouflage. While trekking towards Gombuk, one comes across two camping sites. These are Chirbasa and Bhojwasa. Though Bhojwasa today resembles a high-altitude desert, at altitudes a little lower down, one comes across large number of Bhojpatra or Himalayan birch trees. This sacred tree has been a part of our culture for centuries because in earlier times, scriptures and horoscopes were inscribed on the paper-like bark of this tree. Another remarkable but shy animal of this landscape is the blue sheep of the Himalayas, the bhadal. The confluence of Alaknanda and Bhagirathi rivers occurs at Devprayag. This is where the calm and silted Alaknanda meets the furiously flowing, clear Bhagirathi. Bhagirathi too descends from the upper Himalayas, but is almost silt-free. This is because the river's upper course is obstructed by a large lake formed by the dam reservoir, from where it begins to flow again. As the Ganga reaches the plains, we arrive at the Himalayan foothills. Efforts are on to protect the forest wealth of this very significant biome. On both banks of Ganga is the Raji National Park and Tiger Reserve, where the jungle felines, tigers and leopards can be spotted. But the star of this landscape is undoubtedly the elephant. Rarely can one find a landscape where so many herds of elephants roam free between the two great national parks of Rajaji and Corbett Tiger Reserve. In the middle of these forests, close to the pilgrim town of Haridwar, is the swamp of Jhilmil, where one can spot thousands of swamp deer in the wild. Here, one can also see crocodiles and spot a large variety of birds. This is one of the spots where one realizes the sheer diversity of life this river supports. Upon entering the northern plains, the Ganga arrives at Hastinapur. The deciduous forests and clayey soil here provide ecological conditions conducive to the swamp deer. Other herbivores like nilgai, sambar and cheetal are found here in large numbers. Undoubtedly, the Ganga is a source of food and shelter for so many life forms. On the banks of the Ganga, we can find several birds that like to spend most of their time on the sand. Some of these are martingale, heron and ibis.
350 प्लस स्पीसीज आपको बर्ड्स की मिल जाएगी यहाँ पर, प्लस माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स झिलमिल में। क्योंकि इंडिया में अगर आप किसी भी नेशनल पार्क या टाइगर रिजर्व में जाएंगे तो मोस्ट ऑफ जो उसका पार्ट होता है वो मॉनसून रिवर बेड से घिरा होता है, यानी कि बरसाती नदियों से घिरा होता है। पर झिलमिल एक ऐसा रिज़र्व है जिसमें गंगा नदी उसके बीच के पार्ट से क्रॉस होकर जाती है, तो इसलिए ये एडवांटेज है कि हमें यहाँ पर माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स देखने को बहुत अच्छी मिलती है।
Some of the birds found on the banks are migratory, that travel thousands of kilometers in the winter months to be here and then migrate to faraway lands during the summer. The flatlands, grasslands and wetlands of the Ganga, covering a large area, are a gift of the river, and the large number of birds that live here bear testimony to the rich natural heritage along the Ganga. Close to the banks of the river are situated a large number of lakes and ponds. These natural reservoirs continue to replenish the river through their underground watersheds during dry spells and are used for pisciculture. They also provide habitats for large bird populations of migratory and endemic birds. Some of these water bodies, like the Oxbow Lakes, locally known as Bhagars in Buxar and Bhojpur, are a whopping 16 and 11 kilometers in length, respectively. While researching life forms along the Ganga, we have been able to document a large number of different water bodies situated within 5 to 7 kilometers of the banks of the river. For instance, if we take the district of Mirzapur alone, we find that it has 434 small and large water bodies. From Mirzapur's Motia Talab and Gerua Talab to Varanasi's Khandua Pokhara to Farrukhabad's Chintamani Kund, such significant water bodies are in every district. They assist in maintaining the flow of the river, raise the water table, and are habitat for a great diversity of wildlife. Ganga's tributaries bring waters of differing characteristics and add to the quality of the sacred waters. Merging Ganga on the southern end include Yamuna, Tamasa, Son, Buri Ganga, Kali Nadi and Karbanara. The ones emerging from the Himalaya and merging with the river include Gandak, Ghatha, Kosi and Ramaganga. The confluence of these rivers with the Ganga revitalizes the river, giving it energy and speed. As the Ganga comes to Kashi, we arrive to perhaps the oldest living city in the world, which finds mention in ancient texts like Mahabharata, Ramayana, and the Puranas. In the past, close to Kashi was a dense forest named Anandavan, where great sages lived. They would meditate over the value of life in communion with nature. When these sages came to the banks of the river to bathe in the holy waters, pilgrims coming here would consult them. In this manner, Kashi became a magnet for seekers. Philosophy and knowledge on the river's banks and its natural endowments complement each other. In Indian culture, the Makar is a symbol of water. Little wonder then that Ganga as a goddess is usually depicted as mounted on a Makar. The Makar is neither a crocodile nor a ghadial, but the river has always been associated with this divine creature. In fact, the river has been so closely associated with this mysterious reptile that she has been named Makar Vahini. This creature combines elements of being a fish and a mammal, probably an ancient representation of the elusive Gangetic Dolphin. Man and animal have coexisted peacefully on the banks of the river for centuries. One great example of this cohabitation is the pond of village Kakrakheda in district Hardoi. This water body has been home to a large tortoise creep, a source of wonder for all who get to see it. How and when these creatures came here is unknown. But today this pond is home to thousands of tortoises that have become part of the village landscape.
दो प्रजाति के यहाँ पे कछुए पाए जाते हैं। ये कछुए बहुत अहम भूमिका निभाते हैं, जो जल को स्वच्छ करने में सबसे बड़ा इनका अहम रोल है।
They perform the function of keeping the waters clean, and people feed them in turn. This pond in a bustling village proves that humans and wildlife can exist along the river without any conflicts arising among them. Francis Hamilton, in his book published in 1822, listed 272 species of fish in the Ganga and her tributaries. However, current surveys have yielded records of only 143 species, many of which are exotic. The indigenous species of the Ganga include fish like rohu, jhinga, bhakur, tengra, nan and bum. These fish can be commonly found in fish markets along the river. A major threat to the ecological health of the river is posed by the artificially introduced Chinese carp and other such exotic species. Though the exotic fish eggs are added to the river to quickly add to the fish population in the waters, this has quite an adverse effect on the river ecology. These fish, in fact, wipe out the existing indigenous fish populations in the river. If you are looking for the most loved creature in the Ganga, you would have to look for the Gangetic Dolphin. Gangetic Dolphin is a shy mammal that prefers to remain in placid waters. Unfortunately, the habitat of this creature is that stretch of the Ganga human activity has on the increase. Only about 3,000 dolphins survive in the Ganga, and almost half the population is found around Bhagalpur. In such a situation, it falls upon all of us citizens to come together and save this national aquatic animal from extinction. Fish have always been part of the riverine economy provided to us by the river. In fact, so significant were they to certain regions that in the past the Nawabs of Awadh had them on their kingdom's coat of arms. With the passage of time, the British occupied this region and named it the United Provinces of Awadh and Agra. They, however, continued with the symbol, and one can see two fish still adorning the official seal of the state of Uttar Pradesh. This seal also has a depiction of the confluence of two streams, the Yamuna and the Ganga. Isn't this a beautiful merging of nature with culture? While talking of the natural heritage of the Ganga, one must talk of Ganga Jal, the water of the Ganga, and its various qualities. Dhanvantari, the healer of the gods, tells us that when the body is rendered frail and anemic by disease, the pure waters of the Ganga emerging from the lotus feet of Narayan works like elixir. In the ancient text Charak Sutra, authored by Chakrapani Dutt, as well as other Ayurveda texts, Ganga waters have been praised for their efficacy. Many sacred and ancient trees also grow on the banks of the Ganga. Under their large canopies are found shrines and places of worship. Many of these are 2 to 6 centuries old. In fact, Akshay-Vat at Prayagraj is considered to be ageless. One of these heritage trees is the ancient banyan of the botanical garden at Shibpur, Howrah. Popularly known as the Great Banyan, this one single tree appears in itself to be a complete forest. The prop roots emerging from the stems give the tree stability and expanse, constantly increasing the area it covers. Indigenous trees are our bulwarks against cyclones and severe storms that constantly strike the deltaic regions of the Ganga. One instance of the inherent strength of these trees is the 250-year-old banyan in Kolkata's botanical garden that survived cyclone Amphan, even as several exotic species perished. The monsoon season is a time when the level of the Ganga waters rises. As the torrents recede, the sediments deposited by the river become the breeding ground for Kans grass, also known as Saccharum spontaneum or Ganna ghas. We found this tall grass along the Ganga from the hills to the delta. This grass, growing gregariously on the banks, is a habitat for many organisms. Humans have found various uses for this grass too. Some people use it to thatch their roofs, while others fashion brooms and ropes out of it. In Badaयूं, the grass is used to make portraits, usually referred to as seeker art. Another important aspect of the river are the over 2,400 sandbars and little islands along its stretch. While some of these have been taken over for agriculture, others still remain habitats for turtles, muggers, gharials, and otters. Wherever human habitation has not reached, it is critical to protect these sites since they provide corridors for free movement of wildlife. The grasses on the edge of these riverine islands help keep them stable and erosion-free. Long-term simulation studies of riverine islands, like this one in Chinsura, West Bengal, has shown that the river continues to reshape them at will. Studies have shown how this island's area has changed over the last 20 years. This means that several of these bars and islands may be temporary. Destruction of vegetation along the edges of these islands may force the river to change its course. Analysis of Survey of India maps over the last 240 years has revealed that in many regions, the river has changed its course to flow as much as 10 kilometers away from its earlier path. Another aspect of the river's nature-based economy is the industry of boat making. Boats of different kinds are deployed to ferry people and goods across the river. The preferred wood is usually sal, but owing to lack of availability, metal boats are also being made now. Wherever bridges have not been built, boats are the trusted means of transport. As the river flows towards the east, the depth of the river increases, and therefore the size of the boats also increases due east on the river. 60% of India's mangrove forests lie in the Sundarban delta of the Ganga. Here, 26 species of mangrove trees are found, with the Sundari tree one of them, even though the Sundari tree is not very commonly spotted now. In the treacherous landscape is also found the Royal Bengal Tiger. The delta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where the delta forms with the Ganga meeting the Meghna and the Brahmaputra as they enter the Bay of Bengal. This is truly nature's land of deceptive wonders, where the landscape is constantly changing due to tides forming islands and the marshes, estuaries and creeks playing a strange game with the river. Of the 102 islands of the delta, 54 are inhabited by humans. However, in the others, amongst dense forests, one can find 334 plant, 693 wild animals and 315 wetland bird species and their predators. This is the home of the pride of India, the Royal Bengal Tiger. People living on the edges of these forests depend on firewood and honey collected from these forests for sustenance. Collection of honey is the main source of livelihood, and these honey collectors are known as maulis. Life is a constant struggle here, as the task of entering the forest is fraught with danger of encountering tigers and other wildlife. Perhaps the only means of ensuring safety is to pray to Bon Bibi. People worship her through a dance drama known as Mauli Gan. It is believed that only she has the power to ensure a person's safe return from the forest. This performance tradition is popular all the way till Bangladesh and is populated by both Hindu and Muslim characters. The plot focuses on a vicious tiger who can transform into a powerful human at will and wants to hunt a child. The performance climaxes with the appearance of Bon Bibi or Bon Devi, the goddess of the forest, who finally restrains the tiger and protects the child Dukha.
अभी भी यहाँ को मानते हैं, को पूजा जंगल में जाते हैं, से जो चीज एक्शन करते हैं उसको लेके जब गांव में आते हैं ना, तो यहाँ पे आके भी वो माता जी को पूजा करते हैं।
जे हर ईयर में साइक्लोन आते हैं, और ये जो साइक्लोन आते हैं ये मेनली मेन ऑफ सोर्स देखते हैं तो बे ऑफ बंगाल से ही बनते हैं ज़्यादातर, और बे ऑफ बंगाल का अपोजिट साइड में है मैनग्रोव फॉरेस्ट। तो कोई भी तूफान आया तो फर्स्ट टाइम अट्रैक्शन में जो आते हैं ये मैनग्रोव फॉरेस्ट वातावरण। फर्स्ट स्टेप में आपको बाउंड्री की तरफ गार्ड करते हैं। हम लोग जो विलेज हैं तो विलेज में जो विलेज वालों ने रहते हैं उन लोगों को सेफ्टी के लिए ये मैनग्रोव फॉरेस्ट प्रोटेक्ट करना बहुत ज़रूरत है।
The Sundarbans are also home to the other dolphin found in the Ganga, the Irrawaddy dolphin. In comparison to the Gangetic dolphin, this one has a face shaped like a beak and the dorsal fins are larger. The journey of nature in Ganga Katha comes to a close here, but the journey of an eternal river like Ganga never comes to an end. Ganga will continue to flow perennial, pure and life-giving as ever. Whether it is the apples of Harsil in the Gangotri Valley, or it be the bananas of Vaishali, or even the mangoes of Malda, the life-giving sap of all these benedictions of the Ganga enriches our lives. The greatness of Ganga lies in its constant service to humanity without seeking anything in return. Come, let us as humans also recognize our duty towards the Mother River and vow to keep it free of pollution, contributing in keeping its banks green, its flow unobstructed. This we shall do not for anyone else, but for emancipation of the souls of our ancestors and for the health and happiness of our future generations. Jai Ma Gange.
चले